I was talking to a friend recently about what it feels like to have both parents vanish. I said that it made me want to be less frivolous, more responsible, more adult. I'm now the grown-up in the room. My friend's parents, on the other hand, they're both still around, but he said more or less the opposite of what I said. He said that when they go, he expects to feel liberated, like he can drop a lot of the responsibilities he feels now. He can reduce the pressure, he can turn the heat down on his career. Both of us were surprised at how different our two reactions were. We talked about it some more, and I finally figured out what was going on. My friend feels like he has to be on his best behavior around his parents. And he's 55 years old, just like me. They have opinions and expectations about how he should live his life. They tell him how his kids should behave. They explain how he should run his business. They judge and correct. And maybe they see these actions and these opinions as providing support or guidance to my friend. But it doesn't always feel that way to him. He feels like their love, approval, acceptance are all conditional on his behavior and his success. And the reason I didn't understand his reaction at first was that this parent-child relationship he was describing was so foreign to me. It seemed like something from a Victorian novel or a TV drama about a family that's so dysfunctional that it turns into a comedy, because surely no one acts like that in real life. But after thinking about the relationships that some of my other friends and coworkers and roommates have had with their parents, I realized how common those difficult parent-child relationships are. And I'm just going to close these because I'm having trouble hearing myself. Then I realized what an amazing gift my parents had given my brother and me. They let us explore and grow and make mistakes and change our minds and sometimes be obnoxious or selfish or inconsiderate. And we knew that no matter how badly we messed up, they would always love us and protect us and expect nothing in return. We were dumb kids, so we didn't understand how important this gift was at the time. But it's clear as day to me now how unusual they were as parents and how good they were at parenting. Of course, there's such a thing as overly permissive parenting that can become relaxed, so relaxed that it flirts with neglect. And I've seen plenty of examples of that with some of my friends, both when they were kids and now that they're parents. But I don't think that was the case with our family. My mom and dad provided plenty of guidance and offered suggestions when they had a perspective that we lacked. But those things weren't forced on us. And there weren't that many repercussions if we ignored them and chose a different path. Here's an example. In my sophomore year of high school, I was at the Jakarta International School, and my mom signed me up for the school choir, knowing that I'd kind of dabbled with singing way back in 3rd grade. And she thought I'd enjoy it, and she thought I might learn a lot from the school's kind and talented music teacher. I was not happy about this. I didn't think of myself as a singer, I didn't want to become a singer, and there were other subjects that I was more interested in that could have taken that slot in my schedule. But up until then, my mom had been so sparing in her demands on me, and she had such a good track record of acting in my best interests. And she was so often right about things that I decided not to fight it, and I reluctantly joined the choir. And here's the important part of this story. I knew that I could have put my foot down and said no without jeopardizing my relationship with her. I knew that even though she felt strongly about this, she would love me and support whatever decision I made about the choir. This knowledge gave me the willingness and the courage to do something that I not only didn't want to do, but honestly was terrified of doing. And it turns out that changed my life. I don't have much talent for singing. People who hear me are not so much impressed as they are charmed by how hard I'm trying. But it turns out that I love it so much that I've been in 10 choirs since then. Singing and computer programming have been the two most important hobbies in my life. And it's a good thing you can get paid for computer programming. To recap the point I'm trying to make here, my parents, and I absolutely mean both of them, even though so far I just talked about my mom, gave me a huge amount of unconditional support, of love without restrictions. And only now, as an adult and a parent myself, do I understand how rare and precious that is. My brother and I were so very lucky. Since you're a captive audience, and since I'll only get one chance to do this, I want to talk about my dad a little bit as well. First, I'm going to compose myself. Having some tea. We got this from the studio.
I put a whole weird tree over your notes.
Thank you. Yeah, hold my tea. Thank you. My dad was a remarkable guy. To understand what made him special, you first need to know that he grew up in fairly conservative environments in Missouri and Texas. I don't mean religious fundamentalist conservative or overtly racist or sexist conservative, but the South in the 1930s and 40s and 50s was a different world than Portland in 2025. My dad grew up in small towns with friends who were well-meaning, but, as he put it, had limited interests and somewhat provincial mindsets. He often said that teenage life in West Texas revolved around football, cars, and girls. A pivotal moment in his life was when he was shipped off to Connecticut and England for high school, and to Massachusetts for college and graduate school. There's a picture of him over here of his English year, his 5th year of high school in England. In the book of Acts, Paul talks about the scales falling from his eyes on the road to Damascus, and I think that's a description my dad would use for how his life was powerfully transformed by being exposed to broader horizons and a more expansive outlook. Somewhere along the way, as his intellectual journey progressed, my dad turned from a quiet, introverted kid into a raging, extrovert goofball. He didn't look like a weirdo. Because of his upbringing, he wore blazers and ties long past the time when normal people dressed that way. He always had short, conservative haircuts and glasses. Again, look at his picture in high school here. He would have fit right into a 1950s NASA mission control room. But he somehow developed a deep love for the wacky. I could give you 100 examples, but I'll limit myself to 4. First of all, he often said how much he hoped that when my brother or I got married, it would happen at the sadly now defunct 24-hour Church of Elvis in Old Town Portland. Which it's really too bad that place is gone because it was amazing. I think he was joking. Second example, when the first copy of his memoir showed up from the publisher, a printing glitch caused the cover to be marred by a huge, ugly white stripe. A normal person would have sent an angry email demanding that it be fixed, but my dad was delighted by the off-kilter weirdness and declared it perfect. Third example, he described the Museum of Tea in Hong Kong to be his favorite museum in the world. Not because he particularly cared about tea, but because the combination of diabolical traffic patterns and unclear signage meant that it was practically impossible to figure out where the entrance was. He loved the idea of a meticulously curated collection that nobody could actually visit. Fourth example, he was so amused by the idea that you had to obtain a government permit to buy alcohol in the Pacific Island nation of Tonga that he framed the permit and hung it in our bathroom for 50 years. So that's what this Tongan permit is. If anyone wants to take this, you can buy alcohol in Tonga. So I was reserved and socially awkward as a kid, so it was helpful for me to see my dad model a more carefree, people-focused, life's short, so eat dessert first kind of lifestyle. I don't think I deliberately tried to copy that side of his personality, but seeing it in action helped broaden my own horizons about what socially acceptable behavior was. It helped me appreciate how much joy and connectedness and personal growth can come from deep engagement with other people. It took years for that understanding to gel, but I get it now, and honestly, it's a huge part of the 55-year-old me. So thanks, Dad, for that. I'll end with a metaphor I heard somewhere, and I didn't come up with this, but I kind of wish I had, because it's a perfect expression of something I felt forever, but was never quite able to put into words. Parents are the edge of the swimming pool. Parents are the edge of the swimming pool. I think that means they provide a predictable, protective backstop, while you, the kid, get to thrash around and have fun. Even if you never grab onto the edge, even if you don't even see the edge, because you're so preoccupied with whatever you're doing in life, you know it's there, and you take comfort from that. Knowing it's there gives you the freedom to enjoy yourself, to explore, to occasionally do the wrong thing without being afraid. If I can extend this metaphor way too far, my mom's never-ending support created the swimming pool edge, and my dad's relaxed attitude and appreciation for the absurd showed me that pools are worth splashing around in, even if they are triangular and filled with club soda. It'll take a while to figure out how to keep swimming now that the edge is gone, but I can't tell you how grateful I am to them for being that edge for so many years. I hope I was paying enough attention to the uncelebrated but magical work that they did, so that I can provide some small version of that safe, stable, triangular-shaped swimming pool to my kids as well. So that's it. Thank you for being here.